Hey folks, welcome to the Jan 13 SIG Windows community meeting. This is a recorded meeting and will be uploaded to YouTube. So please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which basically translates to be nice and kind to everyone. All right, so any announcements today? I think Mark has an announcement and so do I. Mark, do you want to kick it off?
You can go ahead.
All right, so what Mark and we've been talking about this behind the scenes is both Mark and I would like to announce some leadership transitions today. Um, First and foremost, I will be stepping down as SIG chair, core SIG chair for SIG Windows. And we have invited Jose from Red Hat to take on this mantle from me while at the same time, Mark will also be transitioning to a pure tech lead role. And, he will be handing over his mantle to Yuan Ling, is what I understand.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to add more to this?
I think that's mostly it. I've been in this role for a while, and I've just increasingly having other responsibilities at work that's making it hard to focus on this. And yeah, after speaking with you behind the scenes, I think we think this might be a good way to get some new energy into the SIG. I'm excited to help support the transition.
Yeah, same here. I've been doing this role for a couple of years now, and my current startup has made it very difficult for me to spend more time giving the kind of attention and care that I want to give to SIG Windows, which is also the main reason why I'm transitioning away. I'll still be around. I'll still help out with things like node lock query or anything that you folks need. So no issues about that. Um, so if any other folks have any questions about this, please ask away. Mark and I will be shortly sending out a email at the end of which we'll go through the lazy consensus process for this, transition to take place. I think Mark and I will discuss that and we'll send it out in the next couple of days. All right. That's it from me. Um, I don't see any hands up for questions, so we can move on to the next step, which is any new contributors. I don't think we have any new contributors. I know most of the people who are in this meeting. So let's go on to the uh, agenda. All right, temporary fix for control plane kubelet local mode issue. Was that you, Mark, or
Yeah, this
Yunling?
this was me. So if I like the most of the test grid signals for anything that's targeting the new 136 release branch or like the main branch have been broken for a while because there was a flag that was hard coded in one of the QBDM components. Yuan Liang opened up a fix to remove the check for that flag a while ago, and we've been waiting for a new CAPI request API release. That didn't happen yet. They've been pretty adamant on waiting until the next set of releases, but they were able to cherry pick one of the fix to the cluster API 112 release branch. So we were able to put a temporary fix into our scripts where we just need to patch one of the images on the management cluster before we try and create workload clusters. Um, so I think we've got a test signal back, which is good because we're going to start ramping up from the 136 development cycle. There's some comments in there. Once there is a new um, release from the 112 release branch, then we can remove that temporary fix from the run capz.ed.sh. That
Mark,
mostly
do
just
you know when the release of the CAPI that contains the real fix will be available?
their discussions to do that on 120, so next Tuesday. I'm not
Okay,
sure how long the release process for that takes, but I'd imagine hopefully sometime next week unless they run into issues.
okay. Does that require us to take on a newer version of the CAPI or the current
Yeah,
CAPI
so as part
version
of
that
that
is?
fix,
Mhm.
I actually bumped the version of Cappy from like a patch release of 1.7 straight to 1.12, and there were no issues
Awesome.
with that. I was actually kind of surprised. We
Good.
did need to roll the version forward because the new Kubadium control plane image had some, I think, APIs that weren't like that got promoted out of beta. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, but there's no changes needed to anything else, surprisingly.
Awesome.
So we should just be able to go from yeah, just bumped it from like 173 to 112.1, and then 112.2 should be the next one. So we can just bump that and then remove the lines that were added.
Ah,
You might want to zoom in a little bit, Arvin. It's kind of hard to see. Thanks.
So for this CAPI, no, I mean, no other partners or companies using that besides us, because I mean, they will, everyone uses this will be broken, right?
Yeah, I didn't actually get a chance to attend the Cluster API meeting, but some of my coworkers did, and I don't know why this wasn't a bigger issue. I think they were saying that the workaround is to do exactly what we're doing here, so that should suffice. And since 136 hasn't like officially kicked off, it's not a blocker, which I don't agree with, but I do think a lot of the other cluster API providers would be impacted by this. Do you know if anything in any of the OpenShift work has been impacted by this, our vendor, Jose?
I will pass it to Jose. As far as, at least from my, when I was there a few years ago, we were not using CAPI internally. So I don't think
Okay.
we'll be affected, but I don't know if anything has changed. So I'll let Jose speak to that.
No, we're in the process of that. Definitely copies direction moving forward, but not yet.
Got it.
got it.
Yep. So hopefully we'll just revert that hack in a little bit and move forward versions and everything will be good.
And once CAPI releases the next version, the hack will still work, right? So it's not like that's going to break once a new
Yeah.
version is out.
Right. We just
Okay.
can remove that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Looks like there's nothing further in the agenda. Do folks have any other topics they would like to discuss? If not, I will give everybody back 15 minutes.
I just have a one quick question. So the 1.36 release, I know that Dawei has been revisiting the Hyper-V container, Windows container stuff that Ritika left about more than a year ago. The test seems to be looking okay. There's still a few failures here and there, but we're trying to explore the possibility of shipping this as a alpha feature in 1.36. I actually don't know where we are at in terms of the 1.36 development cycle, and whether this feature requires cap preparation, review, and all that stuff, and whether we should be started doing that now.
I mean, I'm gonna ask like what the scope is. If there's no changes in Kubernetes, then I don't really
Mm-hmm.
think that this should go through the KEP process. I think there's gonna be a lot of
Okay,
questions about why there's a KEP there.
good.
But
Okay.
I do remember when like I think that for usability of Hyper-V isolated containers, there probably are going to need to be some enhancements into Kubernetes itself. Um, like being able to specify, and I do vaguely remember there was some possibly similar work that was desired for Linux pods too, but I think that being able to specify the size of the UVM in the pod spec is going to be kind of critical for this feature to get any adoption. And I think like that would require a KEP. Because and so I'm curious like what work has been done and what the direction is for the Hyper-V isolated containers with that.
All right. Yeah, I think we can take offline and connect with you offline
Okay, yeah.
with more details, if that helps.
Okay, yeah, because as far as I know, like the container D has had support for the Hyper-V isolated
Right,
containers a while.
right.
As the
Yes,
as your
yes. The
config is
container
set
D
up.
part of the work has already been done times
Yeah,
ago.
and then
So,
if we just specify those runtime classes, container D should
yeah,
start. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Mark and Lynn, so if somebody wants to use a Hyper-V isolated container, it's just specifying a different runtime class. How would this be exposed to the user?
yeah, so there's in I'll have to find some links there. I don't know if there was. I think that there is documentation for all the config fields in container D, but with container D, you in the container D config, you need to specify a runtime class, and that specifies, I think, the UVM size and also which OS version you're targeting for the UVM and other things like that. And then that does that you deploy that through just by specifying a runtime class config in your pod.
I see. Yeah, if it's just a runtime class, yeah, you're definitely right. We shouldn't require a spec. Sorry,
Yeah.
what is that? Require a KEP for enabling the feature.
Yeah, but when I'm experimenting and talking with users or potential users and things about this, though, there was like a lot of concerns because the UVM size needs to be specified in the container config, and at least at the time, you couldn't like there was no like config server where you could post updates to the container config. So that was one option that I think I suggested in an issue, so that we could change essentially the boxes for the virtual machines that the Hyper-V isolated containers ran in. Um, so I think that it's good to think about a lot of this and like what the story is. If it's just for like and I think we need to think about which use cases we're going to promote this for. Is it for the security or is it for compatibility and things like that? And then potentially how do we handle resource issues? Because we could very likely like run into issues where there's a and like a UVM size that's specifying like 2 cores, and then the container you're trying to start up containers that are requesting 4 or 8 cores or something. How do we have a graceful way of handling that failure and things like that? So I
Yeah,
think
feedback,
if like in that case, like that probably needs to be some like written down somewhere and maybe a KEP is a good process for that. But I think maybe it starts with a design doc outside of the KEP and then figure out how to take what we need to do and put it into kubelet features potentially.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it almost feels like this might not need a KEP, but there still might need to be an alpha feature in some sense, right? Or are we going how do we advertise this is my question, I guess.
Yeah, I mean at this like if we're not making any changes, like feature blog was probably a really good way of doing that on the Kubernetes website. Those are fairly easy to author. But if there's no changes, how like what's the graduation criteria and all of this? And
Yeah, that's
without ability work like improvements there, I don't think it makes sense to advertise this as a like an enhancement that's going to progress from alpha to beta to stable.
correct. Yeah, I guess it's just to give users a level of comfort in some sense, right? To advertise to the users, okay, you could use this in production, versus no, first try it out, in dev, and only then push it to production after some announcement. That's where I was coming from. It's not even from like a Kubernetes perspective in some sense, I guess. It's kind of like it's a window between, it's a gray area between Kubernetes and a Windows feature in some sense, right?
Yep. Yeah, which is interesting. I don't know how we want to handle this. I think we have different options. I think blog posts might be a good start. And also, but I think before we make any announcements, I think we should think about if everything that we just discussed, especially around the UVM size.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, Mark. All right, if there are no other announcements, I will bring the meeting to a close and look out for an email from me and Mark shortly.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark and Arvin for the help in the community, especially for helping me to onboard to this. Yeah, hopefully we can still looking forward to get help from you guys.
Of course, happy to help, and we'll be around.
Over here for.
Okay.
I try to not leave for that. So thanks you all for keeping the baton, and I hope we can do as better as you did.
Oh yeah, you folks will do great. You're already doing great, so I have full confidence that this community will keep growing.
Yeah, please don't be strangers. So hop on here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be around.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, folks. See you on Slack.
Yep.
Cool.
See you.
Have a good rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.